Welcome to Put You On Radio, Season 3, Episode 2. I'm here with Sunburn. I'm Steve Cardigan. Welcome to the show, bro.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah. Welcome. Let's go back a little bit before, I guess before Sunburn and everything, right? I always try to take it back.
All right.
So tell me about, getting into music in general. What was your first entry point into, I guess, music?
So it started high school. My uncle was an audio engineer, and I really got into kind of the engineering aspect and recording bands. But at the same time, I was in band at school, played the trumpet.
Trumpet, cool.
And I was like, no, fuck this. Once I was in high school, I picked up the guitar and drums, and then college is when I really, I played piano
cool.
My whole life.
Cool.
But college, I went to the Shrine. It was one of the first hard haunted.
Yeah.
And I came back. I was like, fuck, I want to I saw Justice, and I was like, I want to fucking do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then
cool.
Spiraled from there, changed my major. And
cool. No way. All right. Fire.
I was really into video, and I was shooting for a lot of skate companies and editing, and just doing that all through high school. And then I got kind of put off by I wouldn't say the scene, but the whole crowd. YouTube wasn't really that big of a thing.
Right.
So there wasn't an outlet for me to be creative. It was just kind of you're working on other people's stuff.
Right. You're kind of yeah. You're working for other people all the time. And
so then I just took music full time, and then started my solo project, and then ended up merging with now Lucati.
Mm-hmm.
And then we formed the duo Nobody, and then
no way.
What
year was this?
2011.
2011. So Nobody was a
Nobody, and we had hands down the greatest opportunity I've ever been given in my life was we were down in San Diego playing Voyeur, New Year's Eve, foggiest fucking night ever, and it's midnight and the headliner's not showing up at the club. We're do we get to do the ball drop? And this is our first major, and we get to do that. We're holy shit.
Who was the headliner supposed to be?
Fuck, I can't even remember at the time, but the story takes it even bigger twist. So then we were gonna go to the sports arena afterwards, because they're doing the festival there, what is it? OMFG, New Year's Eve.
Cool.
And then we get a text from the main promoter, our homie. He's yo, we need you now. How fast can you get over here?
So from one show to another kind of?
They're yeah, the headliner fucking why can't I remember? As Dirty South or somebody couldn't make it. So then they asked us to fucking do the 1 to 2 a.m. slot at OMFG. And we just
so you're
shaking, dude. We just thought we played to 400 people. This is the fucking greatest.
Yeah.
And then there's 10,000. We're shaking, dude.
Yeah.
And then went out, and people are just my phone is just going crazy. They're they're are you up? Is that you? Who the fuck?
Because you have friends there and shit.
Yeah. And then it was just an ongoing joke, and the brand started blowing up, because it's who are these guys? Nobody. No, who are these guys?
Yeah, right.
Nobody.
Right.
So then we get off, and it was just insane. And then we're in the dressing room, and they're yo, because they were running 2 shows in San Francisco and running a private plane, but they couldn't bring anybody back down. So they're yo, you guys want to go again from 3 to 4? We're fuck yeah. And then we walk out, and everyone's just screaming, and we're holy shit.
Jesus. So at this point, were you guys playing a bunch of shows already, or
just down in San Diego? We were resident DJs at Wave House and Voyeur.
Cool.
Really close with the LED guys. And they always took care of us and let us stay at the house and let the studio. So they threw us a ton of opportunities in the early years. Shout out to LED.
That's pretty crazy, bro. That's pretty crazy. So opportunity came. I feel that happens a lot. It's almost you hear that in sports or something, where somebody gets hurt and then somebody has to fill in for them, and they become Tony Romo or something, right? It's in music, if there's somebody that doesn't show up one night, right? It's maybe not that big of a deal for the person who didn't show up, all right, whatever, I just can't make it. but like that can like jumpstart some shit for guys like you. And then did that was that kind of like a launch?
Yeah, it was a lead into bigger opportunities, and eventually like Chris Lake signed like the first single, Ready to Fly, and like it just opened a lot of doors.
Yeah.
But like we were ready. So many things happened, speed bumps of like having to learn CDJs,
Right.
like doing the actual burning of CDs,
Right.
like the computer.
Because that was before USB, huh?
Yeah, before USB.
Damn, I don't even know.
The computer melted down like the first opportunity at Voyeur, and we're like, fuck, and they had to come save us, and they're like, you can't come back until you learn CDJs. And then that's how I met Tony Fresh, like Dr. Fresh.
Yeah.
Is that my boy? Like, he's like, I know this frat dude at USC. Like, if you show him some production stuff, he'll show us how to use CDJs. We end up at this dirty ass frat house, and like Tony fucking showed us how to do it. And like, yeah, from then, like, we just burned CDs, and we're at the level of like when that opportunity came, we were like fully prepared and
burned CDs. So like, how many songs would a burn CD hold? Like, could you fit like
if it's an audio CD, like it holds like a little over an hour, but we would never do like, so with that, you would have to, we would just do individual songs on a CD, because if the CD is in there, you have no idea what songs are on that unless you like print it out like a sheet to then go in a slip to understand.
Right.
And we're like, that's so fucking complicated. Like,
she would be like one and one, in
and out like that. That was,
bro, I had no idea it was like that crazy.
Yeah, and then like you had and then we were to the point of like even the beat matching and like all of that was such a fucking pain in the ass that we're like, we would just warp all the records to 128.
Yeah, 128.
And that's like, it would never fluctuate. It was like between like 126 and 130.
Yeah.
And just keep everything 128 so that like we would never have to worry about adjusting the like, pitch fader. Cause like, pitch fader there was no percent. It would just be like 128 and then 127. And like, there's like all this wiggle room. You're like, oh shit. Like, so we're like, this is too much of a variable.
Like, fuck it. So you're like, fuck a full CD that you burn and fuck multiple BPMs. We're doing everything 128 to 130. And then just like, kind of like the vinyl, we do like vinyl stack and like bring like.
If you were going to go through and then say you had 10 songs on a CD, you have to like look at the printout and then like, you would have to have all those records to burn a CD. You know what I mean? So a lot of times you're just like, all right, we're going to add 2 new songs to the collection. We don't have 10. And then like the other thing too is like, what happens if the song you want to play next is on that CD?
Right.
Then you can't do it.
Right. So you're saying like if somebody would come and request a song, you would like try to shuffle through your CDs and find like the Sharpie written name down of a song or something?
After a while, we got really good at knowing exactly, like having little tabs of like where things were.
Crazy.
And then like being able to then, it also helped being a duo at the time too, of like, it took that like, and songs were also, we would play like full songs because like you needed that like 6 minutes to be like, all right, what the fuck
what's coming next?
And,
right. I'm trying to keep a certain energy. You're like, that's so crazy. That's crazy, bro. That's cool to hear because like I don't talk to many DJs who have been DJing at that time. Like most everybody's just like, yeah, I just like learned how to like use a USB and shit like that. That's kind of like, that's fire. I like that. I'm glad we talked about that. So like, let's see. So this is Nobody.
Yeah.
So at what point did Sunburn come in the photo, like, or in the picture? Like what?
There wasn't enough time for him to fully commit in it, and so we went our separate ways. I started a different alias, kind of in the same like big room, early big room, I guess. Like
who were some like your early inspos for that?
Shit, like absolutely loved like the hard electro stuff. So like Mastercraft combined with like Bart B. Moore, Sidney Sampson, Afrojack, that kind of stuff.
Sick.
Like this huge fucking 808 kicks, like before it got to like Martin Garrix, and like Wolfgang Gardner. And I tried to continue that style in a solo alias called like Fior. And then that like didn't take, like, it was we're coming at like the end of that era. Of like everything was just being over like done. And then I created Sunburn just kind of as like a side thing, because like back to what we were talking about earlier, like Santa Barbara, Gotta Dance Dirty.
Yeah.
They ran the Honey Lounge at Avalon in Hollywood. And I was like, I want to fucking play that. And they're like, dude, not under this shit. Like, you're not playing this shit here. So then I was like, okay. So I started making this like jazzy, like beach, like piano house music. And I came out like Sunburn, and I was like,
because you were like thinking like I want like a daytime, like, is that why?
Just like, dude, like just growing up on like the beach and like my whole vibe and like that. I was like, dude, Sunburn like worked, but then this was before everybody was not using vowels, and it was like, I was like super inspired by Mastercraft, and I was like, when I did the search on Google, I was like, hey, like this isn't anything. I was like, dude, if I use actual Sunburn, like it's gonna be like 100 things before.
Yep, smart.
So then I made a bunch of records, and then started really getting into like deep house, like Dusky and like all those, and playing like the side room. Just for fun, for free.
Is that at Avalon?
At Avalon.
Cool.
And just like give me drink tickets, and like
I'll bring some people in.
I just loved it. And
sick.
Then Dr. Fresh, like his manager, which is my manager now, they had started a label prep school. And he's like, yo, like my manager like loves your shit, like let's have like a meeting. And they released a bunch of like the original Sunburn records, like 2014. And then eventually I was managed by Peter as well. And
cool.
Yeah, that's how. And at that point I was like, all right, everything on this project. And I had like a 50 Cent remix, and it just, then I like found my niche of like doing remixes of songs that don't have remixes, or like genres that don't really fit within that. And I was like, every week I would pump out one every week, and then just like Hype Machine number one.
Dude, I remember you and Fresh, like G House shit was like, because like I was a hip hop DJ in college, and like in Santa Barbara when you played EOS, I opened for you, which is crazy. And I have videos of it. I'll show you after. It's hilarious. So and I remember it was my first time like playing dance music, because I was kind of buzzing in Santa Barbara a little bit as like a DJ, but hip hop only. And it was like the college DJ kind of. All the local like resident DJs were kind of older guys, so I was like the young dude. And they're like, EOS was like, hey, can you play a set? We have Sunburn coming in. Can you open for him? And I was like, yeah, but I don't play dance music. So I like remember like downloading a bunch of like G House shit. Like I think I looked at like James Hype. Like he's like huge now, but back he was like a big like blog producer where he was doing a bunch of these bootleg like hip hop remixes. So I think I downloaded like 30 James Hype like hip hop like dance remixes, and then you came in and played, and I'll show you the video. You're gonna fucking laugh. It's pretty dope. So
that era, it was like slower, because like a lot of my music was like 118 was like my favorite BPM, like around that time. And like you had like Arm & Edge and Dance, which is just like, it was just so hard but so slow. And he had like Oliver after, and that was like mid tempo, and like it's just heavy like the hip hop, but not like, because there wasn't anything with hip hop like dance music, and hip hop was like LMFAO, and it was kind of just like a joke, like, and even like Black Eyed Peas, it was just more poppy, and there wasn't like any kind of way to bridge that gap until like that and then it was like, this is like the shit. I would message every goddamn person on Facebook, be like, yo, like check out my record, can you like it on High Machine? And like spend days doing that. Dude, and then
that was like the golden era.
And then I was like I think 5 weeks in a row Hype Machine number one, and then like Opportunity just started like coming around, like Dirty South hit me up to do a remix, and then that was like the Pete Tong song of the week. And then like my agent that we were like looking at to like hit me up the following week, and I was like, all right, ready to tour? And then that was like the beginning.
Crazy, bro. That's crazy. So like even before that, right? You said earlier that like Chris Lake signed a record for you early on, right? That was your first sign, right?
That was like my first sign ever. And I didn't even really know Chris Lake. And this was like the era of Chris Lake of Sundown. Like if you know like that record. And we had Rising, and it was like hard, like kind of like the electro-y kind of style stuff. The song was called Ready to Fly. And and I remember he had such a close relationship with deadmau5. And we started just seeing these fucking videos of deadmau5 like opening with the record. And we're like, holy shit.
Okay.
Like, and like in every set. And that's kind of like how like the whole record got like picked up.
So deadmau5 kind of put you on in the early days in that respect.
Yeah, and it was like the big, like at the time, there couldn't be anything bigger.
There's nobody bigger than him.
Yeah, there was no, like, It was like the, like, biggest stamp of approval, like,
wow.
Holy fuck. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. Okay, cool. Yeah, because I was going to ask, like, you know, a lot of producers probably wonder, like, what it's like getting deals first and everything, like, you know, what was your first, like, how was your first experience, like, getting into, like, label deals and things like that? Like, I know, like, it's probably pretty cool your first record signed by, like, another notable DJ, because that's, like, a good segue. You kind of get, you know, helped by them and put on by them and co-signed by them. But, like, what was, like, kind of the early days of you, like, getting into, you know, labels talking to you and everything? How was that?
Because it wasn't, like, club-oriented music, it was a little bit harder. And I spent a lot more time trying to develop the originals before we really started, like, diving on that. And the opportunity actually came from when, like, the bootleg remixes of All That She Wants. And, like, we got, like, a Warner Chappell email, like, hey, like, we own this, but, like, it's cool if you have lunch. And,
yeah, exactly.
But then later on, they sued me. Like,
but wait,
no, we're Chappell, but he's the bass.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah, but, like, they're like, come have fucking lunch. And then that kind of transpired into, like, we got this girl, Curly, like session in Venice, which turned into, like, such an amazing experience. And, like, Don Diablo showed up and like I probably looked like such a fucking nervous wreck. Like he like holy side. He's like, yo, let's just go talk. And then like that's how we both kind of realized we're going through a breakup. But like he facilitated this whole thing. I don't even know if he knows it.
Wow.
And like I probably was just like I had never like been put on the spot to like go to a studio and there's like an engineer, and the whole thing just transpired into Raindrops. And then from there, like Ultra just came like, hey, like, want a deal? And I'm like, yeah.
Hell yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Damn. So I was going to say, like, you know, what if there was a track that would be on like a greatest hits album for you or something like that, or maybe even one that sticks out to you the most? Maybe it is Raindrops. Like, what do you think it would be, I guess?
Raindrops.
Raindrops?
That was the one that started it all. Awesome. And like, even the story behind that is, this girl from BuzzFeed, I think it was Mackenzie, and she hit me up. She's like, "Can we use Raindrops like for this video? It's about like women's body types." I was like, "Absolutely!" And that video ended up being like the biggest BuzzFeed video of all time, and
that was pushing music.
And this was like before really Spotify, and like iTunes was just like fucking going off the charts. So like, holy shit. And that was like the kickoff of like my first like kind of like actual single and not like a remix.
Right. And it all stemmed from that like nervous wreck moment in the Venice studio.
But it taught me so much, and like stuff that I still like apply today of like, you know, like you are there to work, but you are there to not work. And it's like such a personal level of like, you have to make the artist you're working with feel comfortable, but you have to be comfortable. So like, it's just like for an hour, have a conversation, hang out, and just like get to know each other. Like, and like a lot of that transpires into like, what are you writing about versus like sit down, like, all right, let's get to business.
Right.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
You know, like it just doesn't, there's something either missing, or like you can just feel, you can like the anxiety with a fucking knife. It's just like running so thick.
Yeah, and then boom. So I guess let's play the record right now. So on the show, we're gonna play Raindrops. This is Sunburn, Raindrops. Put You On Radio, and we'll be right back after this. It's fire. All right, so that's Raindrops by Sunburn. I'm Steve Cardigan. This is Put You On Radio. We're back. All right, so that was like one of the first records you can remember being like, sticks out to you, right? It sticks out to you like in that moment. And then I'm sure another big moment for you are festivals, right? Like getting booked at festivals. We kind of touched on it before about you like going, you know, crazy on Hype M, and then all of a sudden getting booked stuff. Like, what, bring me back to like I don't know, like what was the first festival you played? If you can remember, like I guess first one that you can kind of like talk about, I guess.
I want to say it was Lollapalooza.
No way. Okay.
Yeah.
What year was this?
2015. Like, so like I got signed with CIA like end of 2014. Kind of kicked off the tour a little bit. Like my first actual out of state show was the Chainsmokers at Pacha, New York, which was fucking amazing.
That was sick.
And then Raindrops came out like January 13th, 2015, and then fucking boom, it was on. And then it was like, all right, you're playing a bunch of festivals this year. And Lala was like, I want to say like one of the first that like at least stuck out. And that was just an insane moment of like,
Yeah.
like you're up there.
That's a big festival too.
And like, dude, it was wild. Like Travis Scott was like after me, and like, it was a whole riot. It was fucking nuts.
So like, damn. So what's it like? What's it like being at these? Like you get flown in. You're staying there. You get there like the day before or whatever, maybe day of. Like, do you go to the festival first and you kind of like chill and watch sets, or do you like kind of show up before your set?
It really depends on what I'm playing. Like especially like, the early years, I was like 3, but like. Yeah. I like to go just to be early, but not too early where there's like so much time that like I'm like fuck, because then there's like this anxiety. Kind of anxiety, not of like I'm scared, but I'm like just anticipating. Right. I'm like I want to fucking do this over.
Right.
Like,
your nerves.
Yeah. Like your nerves are just going. So like I tend to be more quiet even before like shows of like I just need to be in my zone and like. Play through a million fucking times of exactly what's gonna happen.
I mean, especially your first big one, like Lollapalooza,
and like kind of also reading the crowd and seeing what's working, what's not. I mean, the festivals, the crowd will change so quickly that you never really know. So like, but at the same time, there's been so many of like, fuck, there's no one here, like da da da, and then like I like, go in, 20 minutes later, come back, and I'm like, where the fuck does people come from?
The that's got to be a crazy thing where you're like, oh my god, nobody's here, like I'm fucked.
It's every and I remind myself, I've done it so many years now, I have to remind myself of like, you never know how this is going to turn out. And it could be like there's a set ending, or like their set isn't that good, or like so many different things can happen outside of like you and your world that can put thousands of people there, but let alone like they could be like, oh yeah, like, you know, this person's finishing and then we're going to go over and see Sunburn or whatever. And then like, it could be completely different, like, and within, like you said, like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, because people move, like, and even like somebody could cancel their set. I remember I was at Hard Summer and like Young Thug cancels his set and everybody pours into like Gorgon City. And it was like crazy. It was like crazy, like the influx of people like pushing in, right?
You have to remember like festivals and like if you're like, you know, going with a group of friends, trying to fucking get everybody to then go like, oh, it's this time, we need to go see fucking so-and-so, and like getting the group, and you're walking there and it's like, wait, I gotta go to the bathroom. It's like, oh my gosh.
You're always late. Yeah, you're always late to sets. Is there like a song that you think is like the perfect festival song, I guess? Like, I guess maybe even now, it might be hard to remember back even in the day, but like, what would you say is like a festival song that you remember being like going crazy?
My personal favorite, and this is like right at Sunset, Bag Raiders, like Shooting Star.
No way. Okay.
Then I've so many opportunities and seen them, and like other people have like the perfect sunset, like just like into the night.
Sick.
That is like, I think my personal favorite.
Cool. So what? I think we're gonna play that song in a couple minutes here. Just like to get people in that mindset. But yeah, I guess other festivals after that, right? I saw you at Coachella 2017. Obviously a massive one. Would you say? What do you think? Would you say is like the festival like that you, I guess, personally were looking for, but maybe the industry respects the most?
Coachella. Me and my manager, before like everything kind of like happened, like career wise, we had a sheet of like, cool. This is what we like, you know, what we want to accomplish in the next like year. And it was like, dude, the label and agent and Coachella was like a bucket list. And like, I remember getting the call. He's like, yo, do you remember like talking to me about this? Like, I'm like, what could this possibly be? What happened? And he's like, bro, we got Coachella. Oh. And I'm like, holy fuck. And then like, I remember like calling my mom and being like, yeah, like just like so excited. And she's like, wait, so you're not going to be here for Easter? And I'm like, what? And like, she's like, and then my parents then decide, all right, fine. Then we're taking the entire family on Easter to Coachella. So they brought my entire extended family.
No,
like
that's so
25 of them to Coachella. Like most of them haven't even been to a music festival. So I had my entire family at Coachella with me.
in the Sahara tent going crazy.
Yeah, it was.
That's so sick. Damn. So how long before Coachella? Do you like a year out or so? Would you say?
I think it was like a little bit before Christmas.
Okay, cool.
Something like around there. So it was like probably 2016, like November, December.
Cool. Damn. And then you have to like keep that to yourself, or
Yeah, they announce usually like the first. I think they just announced
January.
Coachella. It's like January.
Right.
And yeah.
Damn, because I swear I remember my boy Nolan Smith, manager for Super Duper Kyle. I remember it was like, I think he knew. He's like, oh yeah, Kyle's playing Coachella next year, and this is like the year before maybe. So I just didn't know if like there was like a lead time that you were like, damn, I can't tell anybody for like a whole year about this. This is crazy. Like, so cool. Like, yeah, not bad. Like a couple months, you kind of have to like play.
Yeah.
Damn, and people probably asking you like, what's festival season looking like for you? And you're like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, there's a lot. Like, there's a lot, but there's a lot in the books that we can't announce and can't announce yet. And there's also like, especially like Radius stuff that like we can't announce. Even sometimes like Crossed will like be the additions.
Yeah.
Because of Radius and other things like that.
Got it. Right.
So whenever I get the okay, I'm like, finally.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. Well, let's play it. Bad Graders, Shooting Star. We'll play right now the perfect sunset track, according to Sunburn. Put You On Radio. I'm Steve. Enjoy. All right, Put You On Radio. We're back. So what is it about that song that makes it the perfect sunset song?
It to me it feels like a celebration, and like just like the second drop, just the anticipation into it, just like it is the perfect pool party. Like, the first time I saw Bad Graders live, it was just, I was like, what the fuck is this? And like I didn't even know that, like it was just a beautiful moment. And like sometimes there's like songs that are like they're meant for certain times.
100%.
Like, during the day or night, or you know what I mean? And that one just is the sunset song.
And I feel like sunset sets are, it's just like, I saw Odessa as sunset at Hard Summer, and you always remember, like, I don't know, it's like that time of day is when it's, I don't know, it's the best time.
It's the golden hour. It's like my favorite, and I play a lot of sunset because like partially you are going straight like kind of daytime into night. So it's kind of this like ramp up of energy and taking things darker towards the end of the set, which I love to do. And like, you know, start out light and fun and end up just like,
so what's another example? What's another song that you like at the end of a set after it's become night, like, and you're like capping it off, like something from your catalog that you're playing at the last
6-shooter for like, at the end. It's just like one that people either wait for. I do like to throw it back to like 50 Cent at the end sometimes. But that, or like I've been playing Never Let You Go towards the end as well. Like I sometimes will either open with it or close with it.
So this is your Coachella set. Ready? You maybe remember it. Sam Felton, Hook and Sling, Open Your Eyes. High Low and Sander Von Dorm, WTF, Sunburn, Ghetto Ass Bitches, number 3. Then you went back to back, and then you kind of played like a few of them. So you played another track of yours, Sunburn and Sean Frank and Dr. Fresh, The New Order. Then you played What You Need, and it even shows like, you know, who released it. That one was self-released. And then you played some Joyride. You played California Girls, a Chris Lake Matroda remix. That was way before I knew who Matroda was. And then you played Raindrops, number 20. I love that. And then you remember which one you ended with?
No, what weekend?
Weekend 2.
So Fresh was weekend 1. Return of the Mac?
No. Heads Will Roll, 8-track.
That's a good one.
It's a good one. That was like,
that's a good, like, that one will always, it's like, I remember seeing like 8-track so many years ago, like at Hard, and like that record, man. But it's back to like, I don't want to categorize it in the same as like a Killers remix, like please no more Mr. Brightside. This is a plea. Public plea. Like it's it's just a classic record.
Yeah.
It's just so iconic on so many levels that will like stand the test of time.
Test of time. It's one of those that's definitely one of the ones that will stand the test of time, like no doubt. So let's see. So let's get into your like recent music, okay? So you dropped your album The Old Days in September. Yeah. So tell me about like, building out this most recent album and everything. Like, was this a new process when it comes to like trying to get more people involved, or like what anything stand out from this album process?
Yeah, this was completely different than the first one. It was a different mentality and also a different time. So a lot of it was written when there were no shows and we were like fucking locked at home. So it's not as club oriented as like the first
I noticed
album.
That. Yeah.
And so much of it just came from like the songwriting process and everybody involved, and like my crew of people that were just like pretty much living at my house, and we were just writing so much music and but like songs and like that. And then the whole approach kind of was like this breakup album into something a little bit more deep. And like as things started to like progress, more and more like ideas and concepts started floating around of then like my uncle's music. I got that catalog, and then that was kind of that's when you're dreaming with the Zalabar. So then I then flipped that, and then
so you like sampling his album and stuff?
No, I was like, so he like it was never released.
Oh, cool.
And this is like from like the like late 70s, and like so then my dad is like one of the I guess like owners of the catalog.
Yeah.
So then I got the whole thing, and I was like, yo, like can I like redo this record with him, because it was like just an acoustic kind of deal.
Sick.
So then was able to then go back and like revamp it, and then I ended up releasing all of their music on Spotify, but it just continued to like progress. And then I met my like really close friend JP, and he was like working over at like Netflix, but did like film scoring and like that kind of stuff. So then we got doing like this like almost like movie score-esque kind of approach to some of these records. And then like my close friend Zach like just was bring him in on like just to help people with vocals, and we were just running so many people in and out. And it got to the point where like there was just so much, or like, all right, how long is this gonna be? And like what?
Yeah, there's like 18 tracks on it. Is that right? Yeah, it's pretty long, a long album. That's fire. And like, did you make more than 18 and you had to narrow it down a lot?
There's so many. And it was just like, and it got to a point of like when I had to tell myself to stop, it was just like I'd be in the middle of a session, and in my head I would just be like, this is not as good as anything that I have right now. And I don't want to like offend the person, but I'm like, yeah, we probably need to start over. But like that's like when I realized, all right, take a step back, because like everything kind of had to then flow, and the style in which like the album, like I couldn't start just like doing a different genre, or not even genre, but like style, like the Freak On collab was like the most, and that was like more techie, and that's like where like the music is going, that's like done for the next like couple years. And this, I wanted to make sure that it had the same feel and flow of what the storytelling was, but at the same time the instrumentation. And like after a while I was like, okay, like I think we got it.
Yeah,
this is what we have. And then it almost took a year of paperwork.
Wow.
Just so many people, so many other like like the vocalists and writers involved and everybody, and like some of them are in London, some are over here, so it's like trying to get the lawyers to like get the contracts back. And
people don't know much about, people don't think about that when there's so many collaborators. Like it's crazy. And especially nowadays, you look at like the credits on albums on Spotify, and you're like, damn, like there's so many people are coming together to make these projects. It's gotta take forever. Did that delay the album a lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Insane. I was like ready to put it out like August 2021.
Wow.
It came out in September 2022.
Wow.
But then we wanted to anyway to like do singles. And so it gave us time to really do that. And it also gave me time to like slow down, really conceptualize the like album artwork, everything that was going into it, and then revisit some stuff and really spend the time with it that I went like, okay,
yeah,
I can close this chapter,
yeah,
and then feel confident that I put in everything I needed to.
Cool. And what was the first single for the album?
It was Echoes.
So let's play the first single from the album, Echoes, Sunburn on The Old Days. Put You On Radio. I'm Steve. Be right back. Echoes by Sunburn. This is Put You On Radio. Going off of The Old Days, the latest album from Sunburn. Okay, so Echoes featuring Kudu Blue. So they're new to me. You're putting me on to Kudu Blue. How did you find them? How did that collaboration come about?
So this whole thing started within Ultra. I had just bought like a Prophet and was like playing around with it, and something just like sank in immediately, and I was like, whoa, like I want this record.
Yeah.
Like the top. So like I ended up like going back and like rewriting the whole music to it.
Sick.
Onto the top line, and then that's how that one kind of came about.
That's sick. Okay, cool. And then so yeah, like it's so interesting to hear about like the process of like people in and out, and you're recording this at your place.
Yeah,
the whole album's at your place.
The whole album was at my old apartment on Hope, and like I built like a whole studio in the second bedroom. It was a massive apartment.
Yeah,
and then I finally was able to create that space. I mean, my other apartment, the apartment was a studio. Like,
okay,
like my bedroom was like,
what's it like for neighbors and shit? Are they like hating you?
Dude, I've gone away. Like, there was one apartment I had that it got to the point where like, dude, the cops were coming like every single day just for like, they wouldn't even call like the security or whether
the landlord
like straight to the police. And dude, it got to a point of like, I became so fucking paranoid that like I couldn't even like make music. And
yeah,
like
dead.
I remember getting like speakers that were like 3-inch like woofer cones and like nothing, and they would still. And I was like, this is insane.
So you're out.
I like got my lawyer and like fucking immediately, because they were like, we're not trying to evict, but they were like, it stemmed into a really weird relationship, really weird dynamic of like, we tried to have like a sit down with the neighbors, but then the neighbors like didn't show up. Yeah. So then I eventually, like, my homie DJ Scotty Boy got me into this, like, once you go above, I think like 8 or 9 stories, everything has to be concrete and steel. So then you get these bigger, like
cool, I'm moving up then.
Yeah, so then you get that, because like everything could be like wood. So then that's
a pro tip.
Game changer.
That's a pro tip for people. If you live in an apartment complex and you're dealing with issues, just find the tallest floors you can, and they'll be,
because like the floors will be concrete. I mean, obviously, like a shared wall, you got to be careful. But I mean, my spot now, I just moved into like an industrial loft that was like old warehouses, and like I can fucking play drums at 4 a.m. Yeah, and no one would ever hear me.
Wow, that's so fire, actually. Cool. And then, you know, I guess which other tracks on this album do you think stand out to you, whether it be like the story of how it came together, or
there's so much that I mean, because the album personally, every record was, you know, kind of like a part of my story. Okay. What was going on with me, and that like Devil Driver's like really close, because that was kind of like an incident that had like happened with myself, that like I wrote with Zach over like just like rolling the dice with like drugs and like your life. But then also like me and my cousin AJ Euro wrote a song for her dad, or like my uncle who passed away like a few months earlier to that one, called This Flight, about her like flying to like the UK to like say goodbye.
Oh wow.
And, like, so there's all this really like touchy
stuff.
It was the whole album, and like everybody involved, even like, you know, my homie Kevin Scott, who like he lost his mom, like, so like everybody was just kind of like at my house, like it was like there, it was like fucking therapy. It was like church. So we would just go there and like let it all out, and it was heavy, but then eventually it just felt it was, the air almost was just like lifted, and like it was literally like our therapy.
That's so sick. That's the best thing about music. I'm telling you, like that's really cool. I fuck with that a lot. Okay, cool. I want to play Devil Driver. Play one more track here on the project. So here's Devil Driver. Again, this is from the Old Days by Sunburn, released in September. This is Put It On Radio. I'm Steve. We'll be right back. Okay, Devil Driver, Sunburn, off his new album, The Old Days. So I want to talk about some other features on the project. One that stood out to me was Freak On. I have him on the playlist a lot. Tell me about like your guys' relationship, like how you guys know each other and like how you guys met, everything.
I met him through Fresh, and just a fucking awesome guy. And he just kept on sending me stuff, and it was just fire.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I had like started the project. I had like the vocal and all the drums and all this, like, but there was just like, I just kept on going back and like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with this. And like, it was like all laid out, and I like knew like this could be such a great thing. And I was like, yo, Benny, like, you want to fuck with this? And I said to him, and he sent it back, and it was just like, okay, we got it.
Crazy.
And like, then he's just had an amazing year. And
Yeah. He's been popping up a lot. Like I'm on, so I do a weekly like text to a private playlist that I do for like my music club. I have a community of people who I just like go through like 300 new releases every Friday. Like today, this morning I was up like doing it. I'll go and like collect my favorite ones and like send them out. And he's been like popping up a lot. Freak On. So like I started like, you know, hearing about him more. People over comment and request a lot of Freak On my TikTok page and shit. So like, yeah, cool. He was one of the ones that stood out for me for sure on like
definitely
feature list.
About to have a really big
I think it is, man.
And like, dude, he's so close to just like fucking exploding.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to play that song in a second, but I want to go back to Devil Driver for a second because I wrote down that you know, Zach West and AJ Euro, right? They're on Devil Driver. I love that you're kind of putting artists on the album that I've never heard of, maybe. And so, is that a thing that you always like doing, where you kind of like bring in? You know, everybody can go out and have like the Hall of Fame like feature list and track list. Like, is there ever a conscious effort that you maybe like introducing people to more like a different scene, or like what kind of goes in the process of you like selecting people to get involved on the album, or is it mostly kind of just like you get top lines sent to you and you pick the ones you like, or?
It really depends, because like you'll have pressure on both sides from like the label and then my team of like, you know, if you have a big name, obviously it's gonna like,
right,
you'll have that push. But for me, talent over anything. And you know, I've worked with, you know, bigger artists that are not as great as I thought they were, and then like there's people that like, so Zach and I went to high school together, and he's just like, his mom was a vocal coach for like some big art, and like he said like the voice of a fucking angel, and he like came from like the punk scene of like where we grew up in like Manhattan, Hermosa Beach, and it was just like thrown in a different world. But he's just such a talented individual that it was like, I was like, dude, once we started writing music, it was just like we have so much, and like we'll eventually start, hopefully this year, like our side project.
No way.
Of like, so there's just so many records that we made, and like sick. Then AJ is my cousin, and these are also people of like I can go to and rely on that are like just fucking hit it out of the park, of like no auto tune, like 2 takes, and like nail it. So like but it's also, I love to put on, you know, new artists, and like, because like people did that for me, and
exactly.
I think it's part of like, you know, like not being in your world, and
I love that. That's so cool. I did not expect you to say that. Like, you knew Zach from childhood, and then your cousin is also on. Like, so that's so sick, so good, bro. That's really cool. Because like my whole thing, right? My whole brand is Put You On, right? My whole thing was like, I moved to LA. I was meeting all of these artists that I was like, oh, dude, this guy has, like, oh my God, this guy is, I bet if I go to Spotify, this fool has like 3 million monthlies. He's probably on. And like, it was like, a lot of times the talent was so high, and then they just weren't on yet. They weren't like put on, like, they weren't like really buzzing yet. And I was like really, really interested in that. So that's how like the Put You On playlist started, where I was like, I would meet people in LA that I really like, and then, I was like, wow, I could put together a playlist of like the biggest artists and the coolest songs, and I have like the best playlist out there of like the best songs choices and everything. But Spotify already does that, and like they don't, like why not go and try to like curate people who are like, help people empower other artists, and like that's like to me cooler because it's more of a value if I'm showing somebody a new artist than me just like showing them a cool playlist of artists they already know.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult for artists now. Like luckily I was at the end of the SoundCloud era. Now it's like it's the Spotify game, and it's like it's all about money and like how much is going to back and push to get where it needs to go. And as like a young artist that's trying to break through, what platform do you have? And like you're also like broke as fuck, so like you can't be like running campaigns and like all this stuff. So it's really hard to kind of get out there. Like once you're in the game, you kind of can continue to play, but like it's like poker. You can't even buy in at the table at this point.
Right, exactly, bro.
So like it's always great because it's like I see so many of these kids are just like, I'm like, where the fuck did you come from? And even like they're like 18, 19 years old, and I'm like, holy shit. Like
so much talent. It's unbelievable, bro. It's unbelievable. Especially even just in this city. Imagine just like, bro, don't even get me started like on New York, and even like I was in Miami recently, and there's like crazy artists from there too. So it's cool, bro. It's cool. And then before we play, I think my favorite track on the project, I Don't Think You Do, with Freak On. When it comes to like talent and pulling talent, like do you ever think about like starting an imprint or a label yourself and things like that? Like have you had those thoughts, or like do you already have one, or like what's kind of been that for you?
So I have my own label, Apollo Recordings, and it was like a 50-50 kind of situation for the first album, Soleil. And then I ended up re-signing back with Ultra afterwards, and then continuing my like third or fourth option in 2020. That like now I'm finally out of like my deal, and we're like, okay, do we start the label back? Because it's also a lot of work, and I know that from like talking with Fresh of like, dude, you're like trying to not only put out your own music but sign new people, and then someone's got to run that on top of then like you've got to then be Sunburn and make that music and all of that. So it's a lot, and I think for me right now, I from the beginning went from like bootlegs to Ultra. I would love to like work with some other labels, especially like tastemaker stuff, on like within like the underground scene, and do some of that for a while before then going like, all right, like I'll do my imprint and then just like, go the indie route.
That's cool, bro. I fuck with that. That's cool. I think that's a good idea, a good plan. I like that, and I like that you're thinking like that too. Like I think it's important for anybody who has a certain platform. I think it's a great opportunity to have fun with it, right? Have fun and like find cool artists, like have the A&R process of finding cool artists, and then like empowering them, and like even having them featured on certain projects or songs and things like that is like so many more things you can do. I feel like if you're already an artist in the scene, like
it's got to be also like really well, it's got to be hard. Like you got to definitely sift through stuff, but being that platform, you just probably get like all these like uncut gems. Like just like
exactly.
Like, and no one knows this record and has any clue or whatever, because like they're sending it out to so many like there. I can't imagine what like the defected pool record pool is. Like who's going through this, and like like.
All right, let's play my favorite track on the album, I Don't Think You Do. This is one that I love, this record, with Freak On, Sunburn, Freak On, Put You On Radio. I'm Steve. Enjoy. All right, that's I Don't Think You Do, Freak On, Sunburn, I'm Steve. This is Put You On Radio. So one thing I love about that is the Destiny's Child sample. So I was looking through it and I saw Beyonce was like a writing credit, and I was like, this guy is a legend. And I was like, oh wait, this is definitely a sample from Destiny's Child. Like, so yeah, like bring me through that process. Like,
so this is where we started getting crazy, and a lot of stuff on the album as well too. We decided to then, instead of clearing actual samples, is having everything replayed. So there's a lot of records like old, like there was like one hit from Justice that like we were going to this replay. I'm trying to think whether they're like in London. It's like a sample replaying house.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
So like that's like two Destiny's Child songs. I don't think you do, so we went through, and it's like it's like that's from a different one, So then that was then sent out to them to then be redone so that it's not like you're using the original master. And a lot of that was done for the album as well, of like you don't pay as much.
So it's like almost like a cover. Where they,
it's technically like a cover.
Wow, so that's not actually Destiny's Child vocals in the sample. They
do it fucking spot on. When we got it back, I was like,
bro.
Whoa.
No way.
Like they're that good.
Oh my God.
It's wild of what they can do, especially even like they redid a bunch of Justice stuff for me, and I was like, holy fuck. And like part of that too is like having that, and then you get documentation and whatever, because there's like almost sound forensic people that like can tell, like if someone was like gonna try to like say that you didn't or sue or this is from here,
you have all
this information saying like this is how it was made, where and when, and that's
cool. Just in case they call you. That's crazy, bro. That's cool. What a sick business that is, by the way, that they like. I've heard about this sample recreation sample house. That's a game.
Like, how many different like vocalists and like someone that just could go like listen to something and go like, all right, this is what it is,
right?
Like, you know, like I think there was some that for like James Brown that like same thing, like recreating like the James Brown guitar and like fucking down to like the year and model of guitar and amp and shit. I was like, fuck,
that's insane, bro. That's cool. Because I always wonder, I'm like, why would an artist choose a sample when they can try and like get something that's maybe sounds similar, that is like, then you don't have to give up all the publishing and all this shit. So
yeah, because that's where it really, but it's like you because you're technically using a master of like, it is something that was recorded and owned, then that you're paying whatever for the use of that versus, because it's split, it's master and publishing.
Right.
So like you're having to do both. It's not just about the writing, it's about the actual master recording.
Cool. I'm so glad I asked about that then. That's fucking fire. Speaking of collaborations and things like that, you know, you and Freakon and everything, talking about like your cousin and like your childhood friend, are there any collaborations that stand out that you've been able to have in the past that you can like think is like maybe your favorite collaboration you've done?
Yeah. I mean, the Sean Frank, Dr. Fresh, the New Order.
Okay.
So like we all like came together. I think we had like this tour a few years and like made that record and like did this like mix mag like 3-hour set. It was like all the boys coming together and yeah.
I love that.
It's close to my heart.
I love that. And then maybe like talk about the future, right? So like, what do you see like in the next year for you and your project, and also like I guess music in general? Like every Friday I'm listening to like all the new releases. I think it was around Christmas time. Almost every single release, like I'm like out of like 150 I was listening to it in this one site, like 80 of them were like disco tracks and things like that, right?
Interesting.
So it's like disco, like new disco, like disco house.
Yeah, just so like, I mean, Purple Disco Machine, of like people that have like brought it back.
Yeah.
But in a modern way.
Yeah.
Like things cycle in and out. Like the one that I've noticed, because I'm definitely going like back to my roots of like just club music. I did a lot. I've wrote a lot of songs and like, but now I'm like, all right, I really want to spend time making these like club records and finding what I enjoy playing in my sets. Without the trends of that, like Spanish records seem to be like the fucking thing popping off right now.
Latin house is popping off right now.
I'm gonna try to stay away from that just because like there's not a connect. I don't speak Spanish.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even, you know, I've done like one Spanish record over the years, but like it's easy to jump on a bandwagon, but then by the time you do that, you're too late.
Yep.
So it's like creating something that you think is unique for the future, but to yourself. That I don't know where we're headed right now, and I guess it's just like time. Like it's just like dicking around, and like anytime I set out with like some kind of like this is what I need to do goal, it never works. And then it's like always when I'm like, oh, I'm not even gonna save the project or just messing around. Like subconsciously, you just let go and it just goes and then
it flows towards it. I understand. I know what you mean. That's fire. Because like, I mean, just like thinking about like now like techno and like faster BPMs are becoming even more of a thing.
28's like back,
dude. Like the Dirty 130 is like the thing now. Like, I'm hearing like people are saying. So it's like cool. Like it's cool to see that everything is like a little bit cyclical and like going around.
I would think, and I've like talked to a couple other people that like the kind of blog house era, same thing with like 130 with like that kind of like cut up sampley like old boys noise like esque kind of stuff. I think will resurge a little bit. Old A-Track too.
Yeah, hell yeah, cool. And then what's next for you, man? Like shows coming up, any festivals you have slotted that you can speak on, like anything coming up that you're stoked for?
There'll be a tour later this year. I'm enjoying my time off modeling the place. Cool. And like just like figuring out the roadmap for the next year. I have like all the music lined up. I have a Move All Night remix that's coming out in February.
Sick.
It's a new chapter for me of like, I've been with this label for 8 years or so. So like it gives me a chance to like really take a step back and go like, what am I enjoying? What am I playing? Where do I see myself going? Yeah. You know? And it's an interesting one because like all the doors are open. And then back to like the label and that I was like, what do I like want to do? Like what are some like bucket list things from like the early years that I can go like, hey, like this would be sick to like try to like land on like Gorgon City's label and like do something like that. And yeah.
Who would be like who's like a dream collab for you?
Cascade.
Yeah,
Ryan's such a nice guy, dude. Been trying like I sent him a couple that have been like close to being like, okay, like I'm like really, but it will one of these days.
It'll happen.
One of these days. It will happen.
Let's go.
And like it's always like the opportunities come when like you're ready for them, you know?
Hell yeah. I love that. All right, we're gonna end the show on a song that's been on the playlist for a long time. One of my favorites from you. We're gonna play Move All Night with Autograph and Cole, right? So I love this record. This came out like 2020?
Dude, no, actually that's when it fucking blew up. It came out 2018.
Okay.
It's the weirdest thing.
Oh,
like,
wow.
And talk about like there's no really shelf life for anything anymore.
Yeah.
Like we put it out, like so I had met Cole through my man, the same thing, like just a like super talented young artist that I loved some of the demos she was sending me. So we got in the studio and like kind of like wrote the whole thing, and then like back to like it just felt like it needed something. And the Autograph boys, I was talking with Jake, and he's like, "Yeah, let me come over. Like we'll just like finesse." And he like ended up spending a little time with it, and then we went back and forth, and it was like, okay, like I remember we premiered it at like I was doing the hangar set at Splash House, like
cool,
like 4,000 or 5,000 people, like premiered it like no one gave a flying fuck, and like then we did it at like the Palladium live with Paul. No one really gave a fuck, and then like 2020, like out of nowhere, it just like surged. It landed in like I can't even tell you how many like artist radio playlists at like number 2, and then it just took off, and it was like, yeah, the new record, Move All Night. I'm like,
yeah,
hey, I mean, well, I'm like trying to push another record, and we stopped putting out music for a while because it was just taking off. It was the strangest thing.
That's sick. I love that. But yeah, cool to hear about like everything you're going through and like the album process and like the festival things and things you're thinking about, excited for. But yeah, just thanks a lot for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it. So yeah, I got you on anything, bro. Like let's stay tapped in.
My dude.
Put You On Radio. I'm Steve, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you guys very much.